Welcome back to my OD&D campaign. I just want to say a few words before I get into it, which will hopefully shed a little insight into how I run my solo games. Firstly, in regards to the story, this is absolutely random, from the broad strokes right down to the fine details, and I have some pretty extensive rules as to how it is generated. If you visit my blog, solodungeoncrawler.blogspot.com, you can find out more about how this is done. You'll have to bear with me though, as I am constantly developing my rules and it takes a long time for me to organise this into the various articles, but all will become clearer in time. The second thing I want to mention is the narrative of the story. I'll be doing my best to convey this in an easy manner, but if you're finding it a little confusing in parts, don't worry, as all threads lead back to the other threads, so things will become clearer over time as you listen to the story unfolding. So while I do the good work of the DM, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. I also just want to mention that if you enjoy my content and find value in it, and would like to send a small donation over to show your appreciation and help support this channel so it can continue to grow and expand, then please visit paypal.me/TomDND to make a small donation. That said, let's get into the adventure. The characters are camped in the abandoned village of Cadian, inside the ruined walls of an old building, mostly collapsed. The walls are 40 feet wide and 70 feet long. Skeletal remains of long dead animals are scattered around the inside of the walls. About 170 feet to the south, there is a large, half-collapsed building, which appears to have once been a large inn. About 160 feet to the southeast, across from the large inn, are the remains of what appears to be a small, abandoned workshop. Much of the roof and some of the walls have collapsed, but somehow an old wooden sign, swaying in the warm breeze, hangs above the doorway to mark it as a place of business. From this distance, it's difficult to make out what's on the sign. About 130 feet to the north and northeast are the old stone foundations of two other large buildings which once stood side by side. Apart from the foundations, very little of these buildings remain. To the west are the remains of a wall about 80 feet in length. To the south and east beyond the ruined village lies Lake Llewellyn, stretching towards the horizon. The characters are going to explore the abandoned village in the following marching order. Lunis will lead the party. He is well protected with his plate armour and shield, so has a good armour class of 2. Varley will follow and aid in protecting the party. Her leather armour gives her an armour class of 7. Solaris will follow, and then Yzalda, who will take charge of mapping. As they are not wearing armour, they have an armour class of 9. Cade will guard the rear of the party. He is wearing chainmail, so has an armour class of 5. The characters decide to explore the large half-collapsed inn to the south. It will take them one full turn to approach the building. As they approach, they see a large jetty extending about 60 feet over Lake Llewellyn, behind and between the abandoned workshop and the inn, which from this distance becomes apparent from the sign above the door. It's a brothel. As they come closer, a pungent smell hits their nose, and they see a large crawling lump just beyond the threshold of the brothel. Suddenly, a swarm of locusts lifts away from the lump and flies towards the characters. The swarm were feasting on human remains, but have now been disturbed. The frenzied swarm looks deadly. The characters are not surprised. The swarm is 70 feet away. Initiative rolls. Party 2, Locust Swarm 1. The characters flee towards the jetty as fast as they can, but they can't quite make it all the way. Cade drops a day's worth of his rations on the ground to distract the swarm as he runs. There is a 90% chance the swarm will stop for the food. The locusts stop and begin to ravage the food on the ground. This buys the characters some time, and they continue to flee until they reach the end of the jetty. The characters attempt a rest on the jetty to recover from their evasion. They will keep a watch on the locusts and be ready to dive into the lake if necessary. The characters will need 2 turns to recover. This is 20 minutes of time in the game world. Each turn is in segments of 10 minutes. The rest passes uneventfully. At the end of the jetty, the characters can see another corpse sprawled out, with its head and limbs half hanging over the end of the walkway, which opens out onto the lake. The corpse is almost skeletal, with bits of torn flesh hanging from the bones. The characters move closer to the corpse. As they do this, they all feel the ancient wood of the jetty creaking and splitting under their weight. The jetty will collapse under a character's weight as they move across it. Each character has a 1 in 3 chance of falling through. This is a roll of 1 or 2 on a d6. The jetty seems to be holding up for now. Lunis examines the corpse closer. It's in a frightful state. The little scraps of clothing it has left look like they were once fine garments. As Lunis leans closer, something suspicious catches Lunis's eyes. One of the scraps of clothing has a brass emblem still attached to it. Lunis recognizes the emblem immediately. It has a well-defined diamond shape split into 2 by an irregular line, something like a bolt of lightning. Lunis recognizes the emblem. It belongs to an evil clerical order known as the Piercing Eye, created by Lunis's mentor, Ganrin, who became twisted and began to worship the demon Baelor. Lunis refused to abandon his beliefs for Ganrin and strongly opposes everything his old mentor now stands for. While Lunis is examining the emblem, Solaris examines the lake to see if they can make it across to avoid another run-in with the locust swarm. She spots a boat lying on the sandy shoreline to the east, opposite the rear of the abandoned workshop. There is another corpse sat up in the boat, flesh picked clean, just like the others. The party makes their way towards the boat to investigate. This takes 90 feet of movement. The party can move up to 60 feet in 1 move. 2 moves constitutes a turn. Therefore, the party moves up to 120 feet per turn. As the characters reach the boat, Lunis notices that the corpse inside also wears the Piercing Eye emblem, but this one has a sign of rank. In the center of the emblem, in the middle of the diamond shape, right in the center of the lightning bolt, is an eye. Lunis wonders if this could be Ganrin's corpse. The boat is just about big enough to squeeze the 5 characters inside if they wish to cross the lake. Across the lake to the southeast, the characters see a small island with a tall round tower leaning to one side. Its entire surface is covered with a wavy mosaic pattern of individual stones in different shades of amber. The tower looks about 600 feet high, and at its top is a large pentagon-shaped roof made from a deep red bone-like material, perhaps ivory polished to a gleam. Tall windows are situated around the tower, stretching most of its length. Window boxes full of hanging flowers sit at the bottom of each window. A set of jagged stone stairs leads to a tall, wide green door with large panels. Each panel is carved with ornamental swirling gold patterns and stars. A large yew tree grows out of place through the jagged staircase. Scattered around the outside of the tower are more corpses, reduced to fleshy scraps and bone. Another jetty protrudes from the island, providing easy access for the boat. The characters heave the corpse from the boat and toss it onto the shore. The boat is not in great shape. The wood looks old and half rotten. Lunis needs to reduce his encumbrance score to light foot movement or risk drowning if the boat sinks. It's either that or go back and face the locust swarm again. He reluctantly takes off his plate mail, but keeps his shield. He is now armor class 8. The characters climb in the boat and begin to row across the lake. The boat has a 1 in 3 chance of making it to the island. About halfway across the lake, the boat takes on a significant amount of water, and within minutes it sinks below the water. There is still another 50 feet to go, and the characters will have to swim the rest of the way across. It will take the characters a full turn to make it across the lake. The characters make it to the northwest shore of the mysterious island. They will set up a camp so they can rest, dry off by a warm fire, and hopefully keep locusts away with the fire and smoke. The characters gather driftwood from the shore and build a good fire. The rest passes by uneventfully as the characters sip their water skins and eat their rations. Now the characters are on the island, they notice the staircase leading to the mysterious tower is deeply gashed and collapsed in several places, so it will require some level of risk to climb without falling. This will include a section to jump across and a section to climb. About 60 feet to the northeast, the characters can also see a rusty coffer resting next to one of the corpses. The characters move up the shoreline to the corpse and coffer to examine them closely. The corpse appears to have died in the same way as the others, however, it has significantly more flesh still attached to its bones. Varley searches the corpse for anything useful. The man was carrying a spear, which means he's not a cleric. Varley takes the spear for herself. Lunis inspects the corpse further to see if it wears the same robes and emblem as the others. He immediately recognizes the piercing eye emblem, but he does not understand how this can be. Clerics do not wield edged weapons. The characters turn their attention to the rusty coffer. The outside is lined with decorative amber gemstones, each individual stone containing tiny fossilized insects. The same wavy mosaic pattern on the tower is also apparent on the coffer's lid. It clearly came from the tower. The lid has been broken open already, and inside is a pile of copper pieces. If the man died for this, it was hardly worth it. The characters spend time distributing the coins. They get 200 copper pieces each. However, Lunis's backpack is now full, and he doesn't have anything else to carry any further coins in. He gives 9 excess coins to his sister Yazalda. The characters can settle the shares when the adventure is over. For now, the characters move towards the tower, deciding they might be safer inside than out here, exposed to the possibility of being eaten alive by a swarm of insects. It takes the characters 80 feet of movement to reach the jagged, broken stairs. I will roll a die for each character to see if they can successfully climb the stairs without falling. Much the same as dealing with pit traps, a roll of 1 or 2 will determine whether a character will succeed or fail. The climb is a fairly straightforward one at first. Each character traverses the gap and clambers up the jagged rock, where the stairs have fallen without incident. However, after all the characters reach the large green door at the top of the broken stairs, except for Cade, more stairs crumble away suddenly. Cade falls, scrambling desperately at the rough, rocky surface to try and steady himself. He has a 1 in 3 chance of taking damage. He cannot find anything he can grip onto. The fall will inflict damage. Up until now, I haven't dealt with the rules regarding character hit dice, but now it's necessary in order to calculate how many hit points of damage characters can take. Cade is a halfling, so he is limited to the fighting man class. At level 1, he gets 1 + 1 hit dice. This should be adjusted for a character's constitution score. His constitution is an 8, but it must be 6 or less for a penalty to hit dice to occur. Cade has 6 hit points, but must now withstand damage from the fall. 1 damage, very, very lucky, just a few cuts and scrapes. It will take Cade a turn to climb back up the bare rock face and reach the ledge where the rest of the characters are waiting. I will take the opportunity now to determine the rest of the characters' hit points. As a magic user, Yzelda gets 1 hit die. She has 2 hit points. As a cleric, Lunis gets 1 hit die. He gets 6 hit points. Solaris is an elf, and she began the game as a magic user. She gets 1 hit die. She gets 3 hit points. Vali is a dwarf. She gets 1 + 1 hit die. 7 hit points. The green door towers above them. Solaris puts her ear to its surface of swirling gold and green patterns to listen. As an elf, she needs to roll a 1 or 2 on a d6 to hear noise. This is the same for dwarves. However, humans will only hear noise on the roll of a 1. I will keep the result of the roll secret, as I have done and will do with other similar rolls to keep a level of mystery and suspense to the adventure. Solaris doesn't hear anything on the other side of the door. Vali and Cade attempt to push the door open. They push hard, but it doesn't budge. They catch their breath and try once more. This time it gives way. The enormous creaking sound of the door's huge hinges echoes throughout the space beyond the door. The room is illuminated with a dim light from the open doorway. Inside, the characters see a large entrance hall with large doors on its left and right walls. Lustrous, aqua-coloured tiles cover the floor. In the centre of the room is a large cube set at an angle between the 2 doors. It's about 20 feet wide and 20 feet high, and on top is a tall statue. Although the aqua floor tiles are gleaming perfectly, the statue is grimy and covered with cobwebs. It's pinkish in colour. Vali immediately recognises the stone as rose-coloured quartz. It's finished to a reflective quality, despite the dust and grime clogging up the detail. The statue depicts a proud elven man in robes, holding a spellbook. The statue towers 50 feet into the air. The ceiling, which resembles the door's green and gold swirling star patterns, is another 30 feet above that. Suddenly, a strange wind seems to float through the room, carrying a strong smell of flowers, and bringing sconces positioned in each corner of the room to life with a magical blue flame, which provides good light inside the room. Lunis is the first character across the threshold, and as he steps on the first floor tile, about a third of the tiles glow red with an intense heat. Lunis leans over and pours some water from his water skin on one of the glowing tiles in an effort to calm the heat. As he does this, A strange, magical energy is released from the tile. It seems to dance in a spectacular array of colours, and then gathers together to form flesh. This is not what Lunas was expecting. Stay tuned to find out what happens next. If you enjoyed this episode, then please give this video a like. Feel free to add a comment to let me know your thoughts. If you don't want to miss a future video, then make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon to receive a notification when I upload a new video. See you next session.